Instagram, Twitch. What's up, Instagram? What's up, YouTube? What's up, Facebook? It's June 4th. It's Friday. It's time for our weekly Q&A as people are coming into the session here today. Man with the horn, what's happening? Hello, hello. I want to start off the day by talking about the scholarship opportunity that is afoot. The scholarship opportunity, we'll talk about it again. What's up, Dominguez? What's up, Wyatt? What's up, German? Malden? I can't read it. But thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. People are joining us on this Friday, June 4th. And we're talking today. We're going to talk today about the Jazz Trombone Bootcamp Scholarship being offered by CONN SELMER. So I play a king trombone, and CONN SELMER decided that they would help to support some young people at this event and offer a scholarship, a full tuition scholarship to be part of the bootcamp tuition free. They're going to have a masterclass level of participation, get to play for one of our guests. If you don't know, the guests are going to be Andre Hayward, Vincent Gardner, Steve Davis, Michael Davis. 4 great guests. We have 2 great TAs for the week who are up and coming stars in the making. That's DJ Rice and Jack Courtwright, 2 of my students. And so we're doing that. And let's see. That's all happening, and we hope that you can be a part of it. The registration is still open if you want to come, but the applications are open until Tuesday, so you only got a few more days, and we got to get people there. So send in your application. You go to the link in my Instagram bio, go to my website. You can find it all over social media. It shouldn't be too difficult to find. So I hope that you can send stuff in, and we can't wait to welcome you to the boot camp. I'll talk about it again at another point when we get things rolling here. But of course, we are here for Q&A and talking about jazz and trombone and music. I'm excited also because the International Trombone Festival just announced yesterday that they are opening it up to people from anywhere, everywhere that want to come and attend. Because originally it was just going to be this a live streamed event to keep it rolling for this year, but they've announced that it is now going to be an in-person event, and people will be able to register. So if you want to check that out, the International Trombone Festival, that's going to be in Columbus, Georgia. And so that is, I think, about a month after my boot camp. So I think July 14th. Let me pull it up on my calendar. Yeah, July 14th through 17th. That's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want to join us there, I'll be there. Let's see, what am I doing there? I'm hosting one of the jazz nights there. I'm going to give some master classes there. Our students were supposed to perform. Unfortunately, we couldn't make that work because of COVID stuff. But what's happening? Word of Jazz. What's happening? Sue Valdemir. What's up, DJ? What's up, Chuck? Thanks for joining. Thanks for saying hello. JMR Bone. What's happening? What's up, Alton? I see Alton's here. Thanks for joining. Alton will also be there, I believe, at the whatchamacall, Summer Festival, July Trombone Festival, giving a presentation. So I look forward to seeing him there. I think I'm also playing with Jen Wharton and her group Bonegasm with John Fedchalk, and I'm not sure who else is playing, but there's a recital on Friday. I'm doing the jazz night on Thursday. Elliot Mason's going to be there. It's going to be a good time. So if you want to come and hang out, you can register. And one more time, Chris Glassman's going to be there. Great bass trombonist, the winner of the inaugural UNT BAC Jazz Trombone Day. What's up, Luke? What's up, Jess? So if you want to come to boot camp, we would love to have you. So please enter that scholarship competition. It's a really simple form. It's totally free to enter. Just fill out why you think you'd want to come, who you are, and that confirm that you're able to come, because it doesn't make sense to give you a scholarship if you can't actually come to camp, right? So it's June 14th through 18. Get out of here. Sorry about that. Instagram, someone trying to call me while I'm trying to live stream. So that's June 14th through 18, and you can enter, and that includes my students. So I know some of my students jump on here to chit-chat and ask me difficult questions, but you guys are welcome to enter the scholarship as well, and anyone that would like to. So that's what's happening. Okay, accountable trombonist. Hello. Aiden. Hello. Thanks for being here. We're going to open it up for our usual Q&A here, and I'm sure we'll come back around and talk about the scholarship by CONN SELMER again soon, and the July festival. But looking forward to that on Monday of the camp. We'll be doing a concert, and I think I'll end up broadcasting that concert for anyone that comes to camp. And then I know that my TAs are putting together a great concert as well, so that's going to be a lot of fun. What's up? What's up, Jens? Brian's coming. I saw Brian. See Brian here. Ha. Brian, have you ever been vibed for playing a large bore in a jazz setting? Well, sure, but I just don't care anymore. I mean, I played a small horn for a while, and so that was never really an issue, but a good friend of mine, Javier Nero, who is now in the Army Blues. Yeah, Army Blues. He used to, at least when we were in college together, he always played on a large bore, a CONN actually, right? I think it was a CONN with a Christian Limburg valve, and we would vibe him sometimes. But I don't know. It's all about the sound. I mean, if you can't manipulate your sound to fit the situation, it could be a little difficult on a large bore. But if you can manipulate your sound concept to be what the section needs, to be what the band needs, then I don't see why there's any reason why you can't play a large bore. Plenty of people play large bore instruments, and it's no issue. No issue. So, what's up? Okay, I see one from Bone Master J. What's up, John? How often do you clean with a brush your slide and or apply slide oil? I don't clean it out enough. I think they recommend every couple months or every month. I mean, you could do it often if you want. I get scared of screwing up my horn, so I don't do it all the time. But I have a snake. So usually what happens is I'm like, why do I have so much spit in my horn? And I'm like, oh, it's probably gross in there. And then I clean out my horn. So maybe not the most advisable. You probably want to get on a regular schedule with that to really optimize playing into a clean instrument, because the response is usually always better after you clean it out. So anyway, not that often. But in terms of slide stuff, I don't use slide oil. I use this stuff. What is this? Yamaha slide lubricant. I've got bottles everywhere now. Bottles at school, bottles at home. I use that for putting on the slide, and that's just whenever it needs it. So just whenever it needs it, and then you spray it down with a water bottle and go from there. All right. Alton, what's the next move for Nick Finzer? Album, book, project? But the next move? Well, there's a lot of things in the works that are almost done. I'm writing a book. I don't know when that'll be out. But I'm working on a book of duets that'll come out around the time of ITF. So actually, if you're watching this and you're a trombone player and you're going to be ITF, I'm kind of launching like a kind of a top secret project to record some of these duets. So if anybody wants to do that, that's going to be there, hit me up and we'll talk off of the live stream. Because like I said, it's top secret. I actually have the proof copy here. This is the proof copy of the book. It's not out yet, but I got the first edition. So we'll do that. I'm doing a course. I'm on Curtis Fuller solos. I'm doing a drone course, like a series of lessons in the virtual studio. So a lot of those things are coming. I've got an album coming out in November. It's going to be a collection of different things. So you know, Dalton, I'm always doing something. Always doing something. All right, here's a good question. What's up, Jackson? What is a respectful way to get businesses / restaurants to A, gig at their place, and more importantly, get them to pay you? Well, you got to ask, you know? That's the first thing that people forget to do, is that they ask. They try to go to a place that already has, you know, people playing, and, you know, sometimes you need to just ask new people, like, hey, would you want to have music at your place? We'd love to play, blah, blah, blah. And know what you're worth, you know? Know what you're willing to do for and you're not willing to do for. It comes down to being willing to say no most of the time. So if you're just like, but at the same time, like if you're just trying to get experience playing, then maybe $50 in dinner is worth it. But maybe it's not if you're trying to, I don't know, be more picky about what you do. So I wouldn't say that there's necessarily like a yes or no, especially in a place, Jackson, like in Denton, there's a lot of students that are playing. So the ability to get a high amount of money is probably pretty low because there's a lot of students willing to play for a low amount of money. And this is true everywhere where there's a college of music and there's students. So you have to be mindful of what you think you're worth and what the market will bear. And if you, don't want to work for what the market says, then you just have to be okay with not working and kind of just like playing. I would rather play for free, or I would even rather pay to get a flight to get somewhere and play that I really wanted to play than get paid $20 for a crappy gig, so. But I would just talk to them, he's asking a respectful way, and just have your rate, know what you want to get, and know what you're willing to negotiate down to, and then say, okay, well, I guess this maybe isn't a right fit, and be willing to walk away, and be willing to know, like, if $100 for a duo for 2 hours is enough or it's not, so. All right, I saw a bunch of questions on Instagram. Let me scroll back here. Would you record a live album of all new music if you had the opportunity? Where would you want to record an album like that? Yeah, for sure. I would definitely do that and have done that in the past. I usually like to do that in a studio, but like I do a live record in a studio. I also did one at Subculture in New York. I did a live one. It's called Here and Now Live in New York City. That's a live record that was done as a gig. Yeah, but I like live records, and I like releasing live versions of tunes because it gives like a counterpoint to the studio version. It gives it's just like, this is what it is. Like, you don't worry about it so much. It shows like it gives you a chance to, show the musicianship of the band and all of that kind of stuff, rather than just focusing on like polishing it up and making it perfect, and gives you an opportunity to not worry about it being perfect, just play the gig, make it fun, show what the music really is like, and go from there. But I would want to go to a place that had some decent acoustics, some place I could get people to. I was going to do one. I know you're talking about in Denton. Maybe I was going to do a concert at Echo Lab and bring people in there and have them sit around and have a small audience. Because the audience, even a couple of members of an audience, it changes things. And even on tours, I've done it. I did one in Memphis. Found a studio, sold tickets. There's that record with Chris Ziemba and I live in Memphis. That was the same thing. So I like doing that because it, when you record a bunch of albums, it gets to be this whole thing of post-production and this and that. And it's like, I like jazz music is acoustic music, and it's supposed to be, not supposed to, but a lot of it, there's not a lot that you need to do to it. So as long as it's recorded well, it sounds good, and you can put it out, for me, that's more important than like doing so much post editing to it. Although that's something I'm interested to see what happens if I go down that route, because it's different than what I normally do. But at any rate, that wasn't your question. So anyway, to answer the question specifically, I'd want to go somewhere that had pretty good acoustics. It would have a piano, number one, because if it has bad acoustics, then there's no way you're going to get a good recording. So it's got to be relatively decent, and then just kind of know that that's what it's going to sound like, All right, Kevin asks, sorry, I see more comments coming in over here on Facebook. I'll try to go faster. But I want to get these Instagram ones before they disappear. From Kevin, he says, how would you approach building a private lesson studio for someone who has never taught lessons before? I would give master classes for free to high schools or middle schools or elementary schools to get kids excited about the instrument. I would show them what's possible on the instrument and establish a good rapport with the educators. And once you've established a good rapport with the educators, you did something for them, then they'll do something for you. So I would go in for free, as many different schools as it took in my area until I started getting some students. This is what I did when I was in undergrad. I would just go and teach and so the educators knew who I was and tell them I was teaching and building my studio and all of that sort of thing. And that they get to know you, they get to see you teach, you offer them something, and then they can offer you a referral later. So that's what I would do. And that's what I did do. Jens, how have you improved listening skills, and how have you continued to enjoy listening to music on a daily basis? That's a struggle for me, to listen to music on a daily basis, because you're always like analyzing, you're always like ripping it apart. So sometimes I don't listen to music for like a long period of time. So I don't know if I continue to enjoy it really on a daily basis. Sometimes, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just want to listen to like books on tape, books, Audible, whatever. Listen to books, listen to the podcasts, and then have to be like back in the mood to check out music. What's up, Eric Hitt? Eric Hitt played bass on the new Cast of Characters live in Denton EP. We were just talking about live music. I recorded one at the at UNT. Let's see. And how have I improved my listening skills? This is a great thing. So what you can do is listen to a recording that you like, first of all, that's not too long, and try to go through and listen to each individual instrument. So if I'm thinking about like a jazz group, like trying to really identify, this goes hand in hand with developing your improvisational skills and playing with other people. There's this whole thing about like people say like, oh, play with the band or interact with the band. And if you can't hear them first, there's no way for you to really play with them. So something that I like to do is to go through and listen to records, like only listening to the drums. And then when you even say only listen to the drums, you can also be like, oh, I'm only going to listen to the hi-hat, and I'm only going to listen to the ride cymbal. Listen to the bass. What is the bass doing? And try to keep your focus. So really what it is a practice of focus, a practice of like really tuning out everything else and listening to that one thing. And so then you can turn your attention wherever it needs to go, to the piano, to the bass, to the drums, And I started to notice a lot of different things about the touch of different piano players, or like how things react to one another. And this has got to be something, a track that you've listened to a lot of times and that you really enjoy listening to, so that you can do it even more times, right? So you just keep on listening more and more and more, and identify the different instruments, see what they're doing, how they're interacting. Just like listening, just listen and focus on it. That's how you improve your listening skills. So then when I go in to a live setting, I can take that approach and I can shift my listening. Like, am I listening to the piano, the harmony? Am I listening to the bass? Am I listening to the drum? Am I listening to the hi-hat? Am I listening to the ride cymbal? And kind of cycle through as necessary what's happening with those things, so I can really kind of dig into that and figure out what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to figure out. John, does Lucas Pino's gold jacket get places in a protective chamber? I don't know. It's funny. He's just funny. He's just a funny guy, and he likes that gold jacket. I'm glad somebody brought that up. Glad we got to talk about Lucas's gold jacket today. All right, heading back over here to YouTube. Eric asks, good range exercise. Play ballads in the upper register. Good range exercise other than that is playing ballads in the upper register. Go up in half steps. I like to play something like How Insensitive, maybe, starting on high A. Those are I don't know. That's what I like to do. Play music. Playing exercises is always just exercises. What do you think about Ben Patterson? Think he's really talented trombonist. I don't know. He just got out of the military. My dad. Hi, Dad. Nick, I'm listening to a great book. It is all about asking. It's called The Aladdin Factor. Power of Just Learning to Ask. All right, I'll have to check it out. I'm listening to a book called Sapiens. It's about the history of humankind, and it's really interesting. It's a little dry, a little long, but it's pretty good. Brian asks, do you think there's any use to jazz etudes? Yes. I mean, I think transcriptions are jazz etudes. So I think that it's an important part of learning jazz, to learn transcriptions. Now, when you talk about jazz etudes and people want to like buy a jazz etude book, they may or may not have a place. I think they have a place, especially for young and inexperienced players. Jens, you're welcome. I think they have a place for people that need some stuff to play, and maybe they're not, their ability level isn't quite up to being able to play a transcription, maybe, or you know what I mean? Like maybe the range is an issue or the speed is an issue. But in general, I like to go to transcriptions over jazz etudes. However, I do think there's a place for jazz etudes, and I mean, I have a book of jazz etudes And I like to try to have them have a purpose, So like when I came up with that book of etudes that I have there, I call them, like, what do I call them? They're kind of like Bach cello suite-esque jazz etudes, where we're just talking about the harmony and playing through, like connecting the harmony and defining the harmony as a single note player. So coming up with like a concept, like what are these etudes? What are they for? How are they different, and what skill is going to be taught through these etudes, rather than just being like a random chorus that somebody just wrote over a tune. And like I said, like sometimes that has its place, especially for sight reading, stuff like that. But I don't generally go to them that often, jazz etudes, even though I have them. I have my students write their own quite often, in all different kinds of ways, over tunes, using different types of scales, saying like, okay, well, we're working on diminished, so why don't you write a chorus using the diminished? As many different ways as you can. I think that they have a lot more use as you composing them, or your students composing them, than necessarily like needing to have a bunch of jazz etudes. Brian, when did you start composing arranging? When did you sell your first chart? I started composing and arranging when I started having a band in high school, I guess. So I've been composing since then. So 2004, 3. When did I sell my first chart? That's a totally separate question, I suppose. Sold my first chart probably after my first record came out. But that, I would say that like selling charts is not like a huge part of my income stream in general. Some people buy them, some people don't. It's hard to say, like, there's so much jazz music out there, somebody to say like, oh, they're going to play my charts. I don't do a lot of arranging, like I do a lot more composing for myself and my own bands. So I've been meaning to put together a collection of lead sheets, because sometimes people want to just buy one lead sheet from a tune, but unfortunately, like a lot of the tunes don't even exist in lead sheet format yet. So I got to get on that. That was supposed to be a pandemic project, but it got sidelined for other things, so that never ended up happening. But that's all right. Nice. Okay, so I got caught back up. So now that there's a few more people here, I just want to say that CONN SELMER is sponsoring a scholarship to the Jazz Trombone Bootcamp. So if you didn't know, CONN SELMER, I play king trombones, has decided to sponsor a full masterclass participant to the camp, 14th through the 18th of June this month. So it's coming up next week. We are going to announce the winner on Wednesday. So by Tuesday, we got to enter. So if you know any trombonists that want to come to that event, please tag them, send them my way. We would love to host them at the Jazz Trombone Bootcamp in a couple weeks. So just want to say that again while everyone's here. We said it at the beginning of the video, but now there's more people here. So I'm glad to see more of people could join us. But yeah, so feel free to drop in any other questions as we go along here. I tried to go quickly through some of these, but yeah, let's go back. Yeah, talk about a vibe. We'll talk about Lucas Pino's golden jacket some more. Hey, Peter. Hey, he says, do you approach music and life differently now as opposed to 10 years ago? That's a good question. I mean, yes. I'm trying to think back. Well, I can think back. So it's 2021. So 10 years ago was 2011. I was in the middle of my master's program at Juilliard, giving you just context for where and when in my life it was. But let's see. So how do I approach it? I was very naive, I thought that going to Juilliard or something like that was going to like send me off on a rocket ship or something, like I thought that was a thing. I mean, yeah, 20 years, I was 21 versus 31. How old am I? No, I'm 33. So 23 versus 33. Yeah, I thought that was going to set me up. Now I know that it's like, well, so suddenly I'm like, oh, well, now I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle, and like I'm not that young gun, or I'm not the young whatever anymore, and kind of missed out on that by being busy and doing stuff and working. I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. So I guess it's just like kind of life just like happens, and I didn't know quite how things were going to turn out. And so I guess I'm trying to make more space to just allow for things now than then. I was definitely very, very focused on like my career and this idea of what that meant and like what I needed to do and saying yes to everything then. So I don't know. I guess that's what's different now. I don't know. Can't quite put my hand on it, but I know like, there was a point where I had to decide like that I needed to sound good no matter what. And so I used to like put excuses about like why I didn't sound good on a certain gig or something like that. And then at a certain point I had to just be like, you know what, man, I have to just go for it, and I have to sound good no matter what. And so that was something that happened when I was touring with my own music a lot and picking up bands all over the country. That was a realization, it's like, it's in my hands. I got to just do it myself. I can't rely solely on other people to like give you musical inspiration. And yeah, just knowing it, just things take longer than you want them to usually, and all those things. So anyway, those are some things that are different between my 20s and 30s, for sure. All right, I see some long questions coming in from Facebook, from Jack. What's up, Jack? Jack is one of our TAs at the Jazz Trombone Bootcamp. He's a great young player, finalist for the ITF. He'll be there this year as well for the Jazz Trombone competition there. So he says, how important is it for an artist's sound style to change over time? In other words, is the criticism all of that artist stuff sounds exactly the same a valid criticism? A good question. How important is it? I think it depends on the artist, man. I think it depends on if that's essential to them. Because I've realized even for myself, like, it's been 10 years. Like, it's been 10 years and all the music I've been putting out, it kind of all sounds the same. And I kind of went, oh, that's interesting. Because I always thought I would be a person that was changing. And then you realize, oh, well, actually, I'm not really changing. It's kind of all the same. Then you realize like maybe how hard it is to actually change what you hear in your head. I've got some ideas of maybe how I would want to change things, but to actually do it like is a different thing. Like to get rid of all the stuff, the preconceived stuff that you have, or the things you've learned and all the hard work you've put in to like be able to do certain types of things. Or excel playing certain types of music or whatever, to then go to like, oh, I got to change it up because I don't want to be stale, I think it's both valid criticism in a retrospective way where you're like, man, that person did the same thing, but it's actually kind of admirable to say like, man, that person really committed and said that they did the same thing. So I also don't know how realistic it is to actually change that much, like people that are able to, and it's like, that's why it's so amazing. Like why Miles Davis was able to do what he does. Because as you go through it, you realize it's very easy to stay in your lane, and it's very easy to like do the thing you're good at already. And you got to really push yourself pretty darn hard to like get out of your zone. So that's something that I've been thinking about recently. I always thought like having that continuity of like band and like music would be a good thing, where now I'm like, it might actually, maybe it's not as good of a thing as I thought it was, and maybe it's boring. So I don't know, but you kind of always have to kind of scratch your own itch. So if it's not interesting to you to change, then don't change. But if it is interesting to you to change, then you should change, I suppose. Yeah, Peter, I hear you. I mean, it's interesting. DJ, do you think that live stream concerts will be going anywhere now that concert at venues have been on a decline? even with everything opening up again. Oh, I see. What's up, Wayne? Hope you're doing well, man. I think that there's a willingness for live stream concerts to become a part of the discussion. I think there's a willingness of knowing that it's a good way to make content, a good way to take your music and stretch it over a longer period of time in terms of having new things to share. I think live streaming is a great way to be able to connect with people all over the world. And there's a pretty good chance that even no matter where you play, like that there's people that want to hear your concert that aren't there. So I think that having a live streaming strategy is an important one going forward. And I think is one that even though we want to play live and go touring and all of these things, and I think of course those things will still happen, but I think that there is still the chance to connect with your audience, especially the ones that don't live where you live. And I think that hopefully artists will realize that this is a separate opportunity. Touring is one opportunity. Live streaming is a different opportunity, but it's an opportunity nonetheless. So I think it's important to put it into your overall strategy as a musician, as an educator, whatever. I don't think it's going anywhere. Even though things are opening up again, I don't think it's going to disappear. I think it's going to change. I think there's an oversaturation right now, but I think that there'll be more opportunities in the future to do them less regularly, but with high quality, and people are going to get on board with how it works and everything. And it's just a chance to connect with people, and people will realize that they can follow individual artists, and there can be like shows, and I think it'll stick around. I don't think it's going anywhere. It's a short answer. Okay, there's more questions. I want to make sure I get to them. Sorry. Jackson, with the Olympics coming up, gymnastics teams specify one athlete to compete in beam, vault, floor, bars, and rings. What would be the 5 distinct trombone Olympic events, and who would you designate for each one? Oh, man. Wow. This sounds like we should do like a studio-wide, this is from Jackson, one of our students at UNT. It sounds like we should probably do like a studio-wide poll here. I don't think I can do this one on my own. What are the 5 distinct trombone events? Well, I don't know. If it's jazz, I guess it's like you got to play like some hard tune, or there's got to be like hard changes, fast tempos, ballads, sight reading. I don't know, playing high notes, I guess. I don't know. I don't like this game. All right, Avi Ka. Hi, Nick. I play a box 16 with a standard 6.5 mouthpiece. Would like to upgrade the mouthpiece. Which mouthpiece makes best fit in your opinion? The thing is, Avi, I wish I could tell you exactly what to go and play, but every single person's body is different, and what feels good to me and my sound concept is not going to match up with yours. And so for me to just give you a blanket statement of like what's going to fit, you have to think about what kind of sound you want and work backwards from there, and then also figure out what works with your body, your teeth, your mouth. In terms of upgrading the mouthpiece, there's not really an upgrade. There's just different stuff. I like my mouthpiece, but I don't think it would be a great fit on that horn. Maybe it is, but I play Marcinkiewicz 6E-S. That's the one that I play, and I've played for the last 10 years. But if it doesn't match your sound concept, it's not going to be good. So you got to know what you're shooting for before we can give you any equipment advice. And I'm also not a huge equipment person, like I don't know the ins and outs of what's going to change if I change the shape of the Bach crook versus the King crook on the slide. Like one is more a box and one is more a U, and they do different things, and I don't really know what it is, but I do know it's different. So, you got to try stuff out. He says, which mouthpiece makers? It really depends. Do you want something heavy? Do you want something light? The Marcinkiewicz is light. Greg Black is super heavy. We go back and you just got to play stuff. So my best suggestion is to go to somewhere where there's a trade show and you can try a whole bunch of stuff. Dennis Wick has tons of mouthpieces. There's the stuff like the Doug Elliott mouthpieces, which are all interchangeable and you can manipulate all the different pieces. So I don't really have like a quick answer on that one. Abel says, I'm listening to a new album a day. Could you please recommend one? Could be anything. Sure. Jalen Baker, This Is Me, This Is Us. That's the new album that's out today from Outside In Music, a great young vibes player. He's been mentored by Ulysses Owens Jr., another one of the Outside In Music artists, so you can check that out. That's where I'll send you today. That's Jalen Baker is his name. He's playing at the Jazz Showcase in Chicago this weekend, if you happen to be in Chicago. Brian, do you think an artist ever settles into a style improvisationally, or are they always evolving? For example, JJ has style changed in 40s, 50s, 70s. He changed all the way till the 80s too. I mean, there's like the core, and I think that's up to the artist, man. Like, it's up to you to like push yourself as an artist to go into your next phase, or to have like different things, different phases, different ideas, you know. So it's up to the artist. Not everybody does. Some people do, but not everybody does. And I think everyone does evolve, but I think as you become older, you become more thoughtful about your note choices and tempos and et cetera, et cetera. Do you ever get called for gigs that require doubling? In those cases, do the people calling you know that you don't consider yourself a doubler? Do you take those gigs? Why or why not? Well, I never would have like said that out loud at a certain time in my life, you know, like when I was just freelancing in New York and only doing that, I wouldn't have broadcast the fact that I don't consider myself a doubler. I would have said yes and figured it out. That's what I've always done. Say yes, figure it out. Does that mean getting a tuba and practicing the crap out of it for a couple of weeks to get something together? Then that's what I would do. Same with bass trombone. If it was really the case that I couldn't do it, then I would say no. But for most 9 out of 10 situations, I would imagine that there's some way, somehow, for me to grow out of that situation. Here's one. If somebody said, I need you to play an alto trombone improvised solo tomorrow, I would say no, because I don't play alto trombone, and I definitely don't improvise on alto trombone. Or if somebody called me and said, like, oh, we want you to like play on this record, but we want you to play jazz euphonium, I'd be like, man, I don't play valves that well. I would probably send you somewhere else. Can I play valves? Yes, but can I clearly express like my musical point of view? No. So, all right, Jack is taking it as the TA for our studio, has took it upon himself to clarify the events for the Trombone Olympics. This is kind of fun. We should find a way to do this at ITF. Okay, he says the Trombone Olympic categories are, okay, blues, rhythm changes, ballad, train changes, and free. Living players only, no repeats. Just like the gymnastics team, right? Excuse me. Okay, so, wow, all right. Living players only. Blues, Wycliffe Gordon. Rhythm changes, Elliot Mason. Ballad, ballad. Who plays a really good ballad? I mean, yeah, that the people are always going to say past. Living players only. This is hard. I think I'm going to leave people out, and it's going to be offensive. Train changes, Steve Davis, but I'd also like Steve Davis on the ballad. So I'm going to have to say Steve Davis ballad. I'll say Deese on the train changes, and Keberly for free, because he's really good at that. There he goes. 5. There you go. Brian asks, what scale do you think lays best on trombone? Actually, the B major scale, I think, lays the best on trombone. B major. Fight me. No, but check it out. If you get rid of the idea that first position is home base and you focus on the fact of just playing in a way that is close together or keeps the slide moving, like B major, you don't have to move that much to actually play B major, especially in the second octave. It's really easy. So somebody probably will disagree with me, but I actually think B major lays super well on the trombone, except if you're trying to play below that low B, of course. But we don't need that all the time. Oh, you're so right, John. He says, I think you need to place slide. He says you need a slide placement category where you play 16th notes while placing the slide in 2-inch gap between the music stand and the sax player. That is a good idea. Because, you get on the bandstand and you got only this one little spot and you got to aim right for the hole. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. That's funny. That's like the tiebreaker or something like that. Funny. Good question. Good point. All right. So Jazz Trombone Bootcamp, June 14th through 18th. Right now, scholarships are open for June 14th through for the CONN SELMER Scholarship. So make sure that you go ahead and enter for that. If you are wanting to come but can't afford the tuition, if you can, we would love to have you. There's a couple more slots open. Only 1 or 2 left for the masterclass slots, but in terms of the other ones, there's a couple more. But feel free to do that. I'm going to get these last couple of questions in before we sign off. But for the next 2 weeks, there won't be any Q&A, sadly, because next week I'll be teaching a jazz camp, and the week after that will be boot camp. So we'll be in the middle of boot camp. Won't have time to do a Q&A during boot camp, but so after that, we'll be back after that I'll be on the East Coast for the rest of the summer. So I'll be live from the road after that. But okay, I got a couple of questions. We'll get this going. So Brian says, worst mechanical failures during a gig. I've dropped my slide clear off the front of the stage. That happened once. That was the worst. What kind of stuff do you or have you and Lucas Pino talked about, especially regarding philosophy? I don't know what I'm allowed to share. No, but what can I say quickly about that topic? I don't know. We have a similar kind of view of harmony and how harmony works, and that it's all about voice leading, and not so much about chord names or scales. More about it's all about the way the voices move, and you can create interesting harmonies that way. But a lot of people have done that, not just him or I. But I don't know. We have a lot of things in common, and we're also very, very, very different people. Which is good. It's a good contrast, I suppose, which makes a good foil, But I don't know that I have anything of particular that comes to mind, other than he likes to talk about a lot, just for perspective, not in a negative way, how like nothing really matters, where he's had a thing with just think of like humankind is small, and like Earth is small, and like he's got a whole thing about space and all of that stuff, which is true. And I definitely get caught up in like the stuff too much, the day-to-day stuff, for sure I do. But all right, I got one last question here from Jack. He says, okay, same trombone Olympics categories, but with dead players, no repeats. Okay. Okay, so the categories were blues, rhythm changes, ballads, free. Let me do these. Let's see. Sorry, these are hard questions. Dead players, blues, Lawrence Brown on the blues, ballad Curtis Fuller, 100%. Rhythm changes, I'll say JJ on the rhythm changes. Train changes, a dead player that I would like to hear play train changes. That's a hard one, man. I'll switch because I didn't think this all the way through. It would be interesting to hear JJ play train changes, I think. And he never... Do I know of a recording of him playing train changes? I'm not sure that I do. Somebody could prove me wrong, though. Maybe he did. But that would be interesting. Like, hear JJ play 26-2. Anyway, so Curtis was ballad. Rhythm changes, we'll switch, and we'll put JJ on train changes, and then rhythm changes would be, let's say Benny Green. I love me some Benny Green. He would do justice to those rhythm changes. And then free, it's got to be Albert Mangelsdorf, right? He was all over the place. I just discovered that record with him and Jaco Pastorius. I guess it's a couple months ago that I discovered this now, but I never heard it before. It's him and Jaco and maybe Billy Cobham on drums. I forget who's playing drums, but it's crazy and free and yeah, man, Albert Mangelsdorf. All right. Brian, you're going to argue that C major is better than B major. But I think the sound of B major is more interesting than the sound of C major. But you're right. It's essentially a similar layout to B major. And you can also play B natural to C, and you can't really play A sharp to B. So maybe that's fair. But in that case, then I would switch my answer and say that D flat is better. Because I like B, D flat, and F sharp or G flat better than C. Just in terms of the sound of the key and the way it lays on the trombone, register-wise. But that's why we all have our own points of view in this music, right? Because no one's really correct. So I don't know. I would just also say B major because I figured people would not agree with me about that fact. But I think people don't use alternate positions enough because you can really get a lot of stuff done trombonistically with alternate positions. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up for this week. Appreciate everybody being here. Thanks for tuning in. Again, there's going to be no live stream for a couple weeks here. We'll be back at the end of June. Next week is jazz camp I'm teaching at. The week after that is Bootcamp. And Bootcamp is registration still open, and you can sign up at my website. I hope to see you there. And what's up, Rob Middleton? Yeah, so that's happening. CONN SELMER Scholarship is open now. If you want to apply for the scholarship, we'd love to have you. Just fill out the free application, and we'll choose those people next week on Wednesday. Next Wednesday, we will announce the winners, and then we will move ahead with camp from the 14th to the 18th. So I'm really glad to spend my Friday afternoon with all of you. So I'll catch you all soon. Oh, thanks, Peter. He says you'll miss me. I appreciate it. We'll see. But yeah, we'll be back in a couple weeks. Thanks for tuning in as always.